Welcome to video 2 of the extra summer program parent information presentation. This is the slide we left off on. Continuing on, we talked about books on the previous slide. We're also having a math component, which we'll talk more about in a little bit, but we still want motivated and engaged students in the area of math. And so what we have that might be a little bit different for some of our students is each classroom is going to have everyday math games. Everyday math is a research-based math program that has games as an important part of students. It's kind of like a tool students use to review concepts learned. Could be concepts learned previous day or concepts learned months ago. But games should be a highly motivating thing for students to do to keep math skills fresh. Again, that latest technology piece, we have math apps on our iPads as well, and so those things will be utilized in the math extra program in summer school, just like they are in reading. We also have lots and lots of different ways that students will touch math and have their hands on it. What you see here are base 10 blocks, and so students will be having their hands on math every day that they're in extra. Again, keeping kids motivated and engaged. One thing here, another part of our philosophy is to avoid any kind of confusion. And this video, I'll play for you in just a second, is something, it's just a funny way to show you why confusion when you're learning can be detrimental to your overall education. So while I'm not trying to plug Farmers Insurance, I am trying to plug their commercial because I like them when they come on TV, for one. But for two, a lot of times we think of supplemental education or things that we're going to do on top of a student's normal education is we think maybe we should do something that's different than the way they're doing it in class so that we can give them a different approach to the same content. Research doesn't really support that. Research supports taking what you agree is your overall learning philosophy. In our case, we like to use what's called the workshop approach. We'll talk about that in just a second here. But we're going to be using the same things that your children are used to during the school day. It'll just be in a more intense, small group or individual setting. But they won't be confused by what we're asking them to do because it's what they're asked to do every day as students in our district for the most part. So all students will get about 90 minutes. It'll actually be like 87 minutes of language arts workshop and about 87 minutes of math workshop per day. We have small class sizes. It'll range anywhere from 10 students per class to 15 students per class, depending on the amount of students we end up signing up total. Our teachers will be in teams of 2. One teacher in the team of 2 will teach language arts for half the session, and one teacher in the team of 2 will teach math for half the session. At the halfway point, students will stand up, switch classrooms. Teachers will remain in their classrooms, and teacher number 1 will teach language arts to the second group of kids. Teacher number 2 will teach math to the second group of kids. This way, your students will be receiving really polished lessons and that teachers can really prepare for. I want to take a minute to talk to you about the workshop approach as well, which we mentioned up here. In the workshop approach, teachers take a small amount of instruction and they present it in what's called a mini lesson that takes really no more than 15 or 20 minutes of direct instruction while students are basically watching the teacher teach. Students then get to do some independent practice, or they may cycle around to different activities, and one of those activities will be sitting directly with the teacher and doing some more intense small group learning based on that day's mini lesson, or based on their next thing that they should be learning to move on and get to that finish line. So workshop is a philosophy that we have all agreed to in our district, and teachers have gotten a lot of professional development on. Speaking of teachers, all of our teachers in the extra program are classroom teachers in Brandon. Many are coming from Bel Ann, which is very exciting. I'll let you read through the list of names there. It's going to be a great crew of teachers, and they're excited about honing their workshop skills so that they can use the skills that they can gain with a smaller class size in the summertime to go back and work with their normal regular classes during the school year. With that in mind, we also have, on top of our extra classroom teachers, we're going to have anywhere from 2 to 3 what we're going to be called really they're workshop teachers, or they're going to be called coaches, working directly with students. Um, the names you see here, Mrs. Stewart, Mrs. Brower, Mrs. Gieselman, are three of the best in knowing what workshop is. Mrs. Stewart, Mrs. Brower are in the area of language arts, and Mrs. Gieselman has been doing a math workshop in her intermediate school 5th grade classroom for the entire year. And so what they're going to be doing is coming into classrooms on a rotating basis and working with small groups of students. The teacher in the class will maybe be working with the students at the same time, or will be watching how these teachers, these expert teachers, are delivering this workshop instruction to their students. And they're going to, not only will your children benefit from this instruction by some of our foremost experts, but our teachers will benefit as well, because they'll be able to take what they learned watching these teachers and apply it both to our extra program, and then when they get back in the fall, to their own classrooms. This is something that a lot of teachers are excited about, and I know that our district is excited about as well. All right, so moving on to transportation. So the bus part of transportation. If you have chosen to have your child bused to or to and from the extra program, transportation costs are covered as part of both 31A or Title I grant. So again, it's not costing our district anything. All students who could ride the bus during the school year can also ride for extra. If you're a school of choice parent coming to us from outside of our district, unfortunately, we don't send buses there during the school year, and we also won't send them there for the extra program. Buses can pick up and drop off at daycare or latchkey. Maybe you have a babysitter that your child is dropped off to in the morning, and you want them to go home for the afternoon, or it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you are clear about that when you sign up for extra. Or I also will include the transportation director's name and contact information. Get with her as soon as possible and give her details of what your needs may be. Arrival at Oakwood on the bus will be 8:30, and departure on the bus will be 11:45. It'll be 12:45. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to make that change. I'm going to make it right now. I'm deep into the presentation, and if I switch, it will make me record this all over again. Sorry about that. It'll be 12:45. Breakfast starts at 8:30. Learning time starts at 9 o'clock. So notice that the title of this slide has changed to if you're picking up and or dropping off your child. You can have them come to breakfast, or you don't have to. We'll talk about that when we get into the feeding program part of our presentation here. But if you want to get them here just in time for the learning portion, they need to be here from 9 to noon. If you want them to be here for meals, they need to be here at 8:30 to have breakfast, and they can be picked up at 12:45 when lunch is over. Here's the summer feeding program. This is another federal grant that our food services director got for us this summer, and she's very excited to be able to bring this to Oakwood. Oakwood has more than 50% of its students who qualify for free or reduced price meals, and because we have more than 50% of students qualifying, Mrs. Evenson was able to apply and get this grant for us, where anybody can have lunch provided, and breakfast and lunch are provided, and it's free of charge to the district, and it doesn't cost us any of our Title I or 31A grant money. It's no cost to the parents as well, and the district was awarded a summer feeding program, again, to be housed at Oakwood. Really, one of the neat things about this, and if you want to spread the word to anyone else that you know who might benefit from this, is that any child from birth to age 18 can eat at Oakwood for free, as long as you're there between the times of 8:30 and 9:30 or 11:45 to 1 o'clock. Extra students will eat from 8:35 to 9 o'clock and from 12 o'clock until 12:45. Apologize for that. The truth is that this is my dress rehearsal before the evening meeting. Getting back to it, eating is mandatory if you ride the bus, and it's optional if you're being driven or picked up. So our bus schedule has been organized around the eating schedule, which is why it's mandatory if you ride the bus. If you want to come and eat with your child, or if someone brings non-extra students to the program to eat for free, again, they don't have to be part of extra. It can be any student. It can be somebody from Timbuktu, and they can come eat for free as long as they're between 0 and 18. But if you're over 18, if you're an adult, you're welcome to stay and eat, but it's going to cost you $3. Going from summer feeding to the summer reading program. This is another thing that's designed to provide supplemental support to students that need it the most. This is again co-funded between Title I and 31A, and really it's Title I for Harvey Swanson and Oakwood students, and it's 31A funded for Bell Ann. The intention is that every student who is either in the extra after-school program or is going to be in the extra summer school program will be getting a book bag that's going to have anywhere from 6 to, I think, 11 or 12 brand new books in them. The books are meant to range from easy to medium in difficulty. Your child should be able to read most of the books independently. We talked about that earlier, how if they're reading by themselves independently and they're not struggling through the words and not struggling with the content, they're going to be growing. They're going to be closing that gap in the learning race. They're going to be, we're helping them get to the finish line. Each bag will have a letter in it with a lot of the things I'll be talking about here in the next few minutes. So you're going to get these books in a bag prior to your child leaving for the summertime. If you bring them back to Oakwood during the summertime, your children will receive more Just Right books. We'll reload their bags with similar titles that are brand new again. And they'll get some kind of wonderful prize, which if you came to the Oakwood presentation, you know that I don't know what the prize is going to be yet, but I can promise it'll be wonderful. And then after our extra summer program is over, we'd really like to sustain this program, and we'd like to be able to have the books on hand already and be able to just replace the ones that maybe didn't get brought back. But if you bring them back, if you bring the books and the bag back to school in the fall, so whatever elementary school your child will be at, your child will get another awesome prize. And again, the point is, we want to have a pile of books to start with this year rather than having to buy them all new again. We'll be happy to replace the ones that we didn't get back, but it'll be easier to start with something rather than nothing. We talked about earlier how we have a lot of books that will be just right for your children to read. And this is something that you should be keeping an eye on at home as well. So you'll have these books at home, and they should be just right. Again, we want them to be reading and enjoying so that they're spending more time being the number one thing that's going to help them catch up reading. If your child needs help on each page, it means the book might be a little bit too hard. That level might be a little too high. You should take over the responsibility as the adult and read the words. Let them worry only about understanding rather than understanding and decoding. So don't be afraid to say, it's okay, I'll read this one to you, and maybe just talk about what's going on. Being a good reader isn't just about reading the words. We all know that. It's about reading the words and understanding. So while one of the books or some of the books may be a little too challenging, it still is tremendously beneficial to your child to take part in the reading process with you. Don't feel like you have to make them go and read all by themselves all the time. Read to them, read with them, which is what this first bullet says. Read to and with your child. Make it part of your daily routine. Bedtime is always an easy time to put in 20 or 30 minutes of reading time together where you can both relax. I'm going to stop here. My 15 minutes is almost up, and I will save this as session 2, and we'll start at session 3 in just a moment.